urgency still exists for banks to go digital. COVID-19 specifically has really accelerated the digital spend and the need for it, in the sense that with branch closures and limited hours, people had to become more comfortable, and banks really needed to accelerate their spend in this regard.
We saw banks moving forward with digital transformation prior to the pandemic, but post the pandemic, we saw a massive shift to where their digital transformation had to be brought forward. We saw e-commerce move forward 10 years in 90 days.
I think at this point, digital account opening is table stakes for many financial institutions. Over the last couple of years, many financial institutions are starting to heavily invest in making sure that they optimize that experience so they can capture as many prospects as they can.
The biggest struggle that banks are often having is in kind of getting out of their own way a little bit and starting to understand that this channel can be done properly as safe or safer than the traditional face-to-face channels.
Traditionally, financial products were opened up in a branch, and they've taken that paper process that has existed for decades, and they've tried to put that in a digital environment.
The in-branch account opening process used to be filled with personal interactions, the exchanging of verbals and nonverbals, cues that we pick up in less than 100 milliseconds. When we moved online, that all went dark.
I think the nature of face-to-face affords you an ability to be really engaging. You can ask different questions, and the salesperson can lead someone through that. Poor digital experiences don't do that well. What happens is it's not intuitive for the customer, and they tend to fall off because they're either confused, they don't want to provide that information yet, or it doesn't make sense to them. Bad customers will go through any process, good customers won't. And if it's changing which data you ask for, changing where in the process you ask for things, that's important. You've got to get those conversion rates right, because that's where your good customers are going to fall off.
Essentially, what we are able to do is reveal the digital body language of someone as they interact with a form or a field. So we look at the taps, types, and swipes. We can now detect satisfaction levels, friction levels, frustration levels of a consumer. We can see if somebody's backspacing or deleting, or they're really getting frustrated with their keyboard or their touch screen. These are all cues that we would pick up on in person, and that we're now translating that digitally to help banks and branches better understand the satisfaction level of their customer.
Friction is I'm having my customer do something. I'm creating a process that's longer.
The difference between good and bad friction, so I think bad friction is they leave and they don't come back and do business with you. And I think good friction is they felt as though you did the right thing for them, whether it's educating them on the product and the features of that product, or even protecting their identity.
What we want to do is use technology to remove friction from our genuine customers, and we want to be able to see if fraudulent customers are there, and we want to actually ratchet up the friction there.
The urgency still exists for banks to go digital. It's long overdue for people to really dig into their own finances and start to take control of them.
I would say you are leaving so much on the table by not optimizing your experience.
If I could offer one piece of advice to executives in banking, it's that they need to instrument their journeys with behavioral analytics to be able to stop guessing at what's going on and start seeing the real behaviors of their customer.
So it's not just about reacting to the new normal, it's really around reacting to the next normal. And that is, how do you build, manage, and cultivate relationships with your consumers in what is now a digital-first environment?